The problem with pesticides is that they have become ubiquitous in our environment, and they are used extensively on food crops, and not only are they affecting our environment, but they're infecting the invisible people, and that's the farm workers.
My husband worked in the farms before I did. When he would come home from work, I would break out in rashes. It took a while for us to figure out it was from the pesticides on his clothes.
The first time I noticed the effects of pesticides was when I had my daughter, and she was born with severe asthma and a huge red birthmark around her head and neck that itches a lot.
We were not given any information at all about pesticides or chemicals being used in the work. I remember being sprayed by airplanes. We used to run from the vegetable fields into the cornfields so we can cover ourselves. I mean, I used to have every end of the season in citrus, my skin used to peel off my hands completely, you know. That was not normal.
So our organization began to work on training farm workers how to protect themselves from pesticide exposure in the workplace, and to also protect their families too.
It's very common for women to come home from a long day's work and hug their kids with their work clothes on, which is bad because those clothes are covered in pesticides.
The role of the Farm Worker Association is very important because we teach farm workers pesticide safety. I went through training and now I teach others. Over the years, we've trained thousands of farm workers.
Whether you're a documented worker, whether you're Hispanic, Haitian, Caribbean, African American, you have rights, even if you're an undocumented worker. And we want workers to know their rights. We want them to stand up for their rights.
Their rights are to know what's being sprayed. When a pesticide is applied, there should be a sign outside saying when they can go back in, because some pesticides can last up to 24 hours. Their rights are to know what they can do if they are affected by pesticides.
We have a lot of women working in the fields in Florida. They're working at the age in their 20s when they're bearing babies. So they're being exposed to chemicals in a real bad way.
I do the reproductive health for farm worker women training. We focus on creating awareness in farm worker women and the importance of protecting themselves and their families, especially if they're pregnant.
One of the big problems is that healthcare providers are not trained in environmental and occupational health overall. So the Farm Worker Association also does trainings with healthcare providers on the identification, diagnosis, treatment, and reporting to the State Department of Health of pesticide-related illnesses.
The Farm Worker Association is making a difference because a lot of our community, that's all they know how to do. They're working for us, they're feeding us, and they're suffering these consequences. And they're doing it for this country, and they're not even being protected.